Today's podcast is brought to you by Anchor. And if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, let me tell you, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. I can't wait to hear what you create. Hello everyone, you are listening to the Welcome to Your Life, Midlife Made Easier podcast. WTYL is a lifestyle podcast for women juggling midlife, self-care, and work-life balance. I am your host, Renee Reed. As a certified health coach and yoga teacher, I help midlife women lose weight without dieting. Instead, we focus on healing mindsets, boosting self-confidence, and refocusing our wellness goals. If you are ready to live the life you deserve, then you are in the right place. Let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. Let me apologize in advance for my nasally voice. I am still recovering from the flu. Can't get rid of this nasty cough, but didn't want to miss another week of providing you guys with a new episode. So here goes. So today's episode is called Stop Being a Midlife Wallflower. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to show up for your life even when you are afraid. So recently I was listening to a podcast, and the host encouraged everyone to find their movement. Find something, she said, that you are willing to get loud about, willing to stick your neck out about, a movement that is so profound in your life, you are ready to face your fears, to be an advocate for the people who need your voice. And I realized at that moment that I wanted to speak out for midlife women who were just like me, who felt like society, their families, and even their co-workers were trying to keep them silent and in their place. And I know it's 2019 and women are more vocal about what they want, and many of them are not afraid to get it. But for some of us, aging has forced us to slink back into the background of our lives. And guess what? Losing that 10 or 20 extra pounds is not what you need to give you the lasting self-confidence to boost your courage level. Now, I'm not telling you not to lose weight if that's what you want to do. But so many times we think if I could just lose the weight, wonderful things will happen. But the truth is that losing the weight is just the icing on the cake. The real work happens at a much deeper level than the soft roll around our middles. So what are we afraid of? You know, why have we become midlife wallflowers who still dream of accomplishing big things in our lives, but we're afraid that what we have to say will not matter to anyone but us? It doesn't help that we're questioning our identity. Many of us now are empty nesters. I mean, that being an empty nester, I did not realize would be such a traumatic experience for me. But as I worked through that time in my life when my last daughter left home, out of the 5, they're all gone now, living life on their own, as they should be. But I had to do some really deep work to move from mommy mode to adult mommy mode and begin to understand that this was now a time in my life when I must actually set goals for myself. The other thing is that we're trying to fit into the lives that we've created when everything in our psyche is saying, there's something more. We're trying to create new levels of self-confidence to get us through each day. And in doing so, I mean, now is the time that we begin to face our mortality and deal with patronizing comments from millennials in our office. Yes, Ryan, I have a Snapchat account, and I do know what Facebook and Facebook groups are. But let me tell you something, sister to sister. It is time for us to face our fears. Now, this was really hard for me because I am a very proud and lifelong introvert. But I knew that if I wanted to, be the voice of this movement, then I was going to have to face my fears. I decided to write a blog, record this podcast, and publish videos online for the whole world to see, even my kids. I mean, I had the audacity to speak my opinion and gently push other midlife women to do the same. Now, of course, my critter brain crept in and started asking me questions like, who are you, to study for a new career at your age? Who are you to, help midlife women or women in midlife realize that there is a whole other section of their lives that they need to plan for and celebrate? Who are you to do these things? And then on top of that, someone who is a former close friend of mine told me that my ship had sailed and that I should be, thinking of retirement, planning my retirement, and scheduling more time with my grandsons. And I have to tell you, I love those little boys dearly. This is actually the first time in 7 years that we've all lived in the same state. And so I am eager to get to know them better and for them to get to know me. But there are some things that Nana has to do. And I know that they will love me and respect me more when they see the results. So it's time to put our fears into perspective. There was a study done that says that 85% of what we worry about never actually happens. And the 15% that might happen or does happen, we are more equipped to handle trouble than we give ourselves credit. So I want to share with you today 4 ways to ditch the wallflower mentality and overcome your fears. And the thing that I want you to remember is that being fearless is not the absence of fear. Being courageous is facing the things in life that scare you despite the sweaty palms and the racing heartbeat. Being fearless is realizing that what you want is more important than any fear you have of achieving it. Being fearless does not need to involve a life or death situation. Fearless is falling in love again after being brokenhearted. Fearless is leaving a successful career for an uncertain opportunity. Fearless is standing by someone who disappointed you in the past. And fearless is falling and getting back up again and again and again. That is what fearless is. And I know that you have it in you. So the first tip I want to give you is to own your fear. Fearlessness comes from embracing your vulnerability, not by avoiding it. So say your fear out loud. Write it in your journal. Put it on a vision board. And then write down 3 ways that you are going to conquer it. There's something powerful about saying what scares us out loud. When we say it out loud, it redistributes the power and reduces the hold that the fear has over us, at the same time giving us the power to push forward. So, tip number 1, own your fear. Tip number 2, reshape your fear. We are smart, capable women, and sometimes that's a problem because we can be habitual catastrophizers, always assuming the worst. I have to admit that I myself was once a glass half empty kind of girl. Having my active imagination fueled my concerns instead of suppressing them. And sometimes our brains can overestimate our fears while underestimating our ability to manage them. So, the next time you're feeling afraid, instead of imagining the worst outcome, ask yourself, what's the best thing that can happen? And use your imagination to explore that scenario. So when I decided to start this podcast, I thought the worst thing that could happen would be that no one would listen. But the best thing that could happen would be that I did it. I faced my fear, I started the podcast, and at some point, somewhere, some woman is going to need the information that I'm providing, and it will be available. So get out a piece of paper, a pad, a pencil, some markers, whatever you have handy, and begin to let your imagination soar. What would happen if you actually did the thing? The third tip is to take a risk. I mean, we take risk all the time. Nothing is certain in life. It's a risk when we have a baby, but we don't say we're not going to have a baby. We have the babies. It's a risk to fall in love, because who knows if that love is going to last a lifetime. But we don't sit in a cave by ourselves. We fall in love. And sometimes we get our heart broken and we have to get back up, but we do it again. So maybe playing it safe sounds like it's a low-risk proposition, but what if the opposite is true? What if playing it safe is the high-risk approach? You know, when people are on their deathbed, the one thing that they lament over are the risks that they never took, not the ones that they tackled. So take the risk. And then the fourth thing is to build your courage muscle. You know, when we begin to exercise, we might be a little sore in the beginning. And that's because we're building muscle and burning fat, and our bodies are doing things that it's probably not used to doing. But if we start slow and show up day after day after day, it gets better. The same thing can be applied to your courage muscles. They may be sore at first, but once fearlessness becomes a habit for the small things in your life, then you'll be ready, more confident, more courageous to take on those significant changes and challenges that you want to take on. Facing your fears head on is the surefire way of overcoming what's holding you back. So I hope that you listen to this episode again, write down the 4 tools that I shared with you, get out your journal, and begin writing. The new year is less than a week away, and we want 2020 to be the best year of many years to come. And in order to do that, we have to face our fears and own our fears and conquer our fears. But the only way to do that is by movement. Moving forward even when we are afraid. So don't be a midlife wallflower anymore. It's time to join the party. And the good news is that you have what it takes to break through your fears right inside of you. You are courageous, creative, and the bearer of much goodness. And sometimes when we dare to dream great dreams, we must do it afraid. But just remember this, regardless of your age, you are never too old to accomplish something new. And I am right here cheering you on and giving you a loving kick in the rump when you need it. We'll talk soon. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Listen, I really hope that you will re-listen to the podcast, take the tips that I share with you, and just really start to work through your fears. Because I had to ask myself, haven't you been afraid long enough? You know, 59 years is long enough to be sitting in the background waiting for someone to notice the goodness or the greatness in you. And if you've been doing that, let me tell you, you've been doing it long enough. It's time for your light to shine in the world. Someone is waiting for your voice so that they can move forward. Now, you don't have to attack all your fears at one time. Just tackle them one at a time. I don't want you to get overwhelmed and quit. I want you to feel empowered so that you can make passionate, empowered action. So, don't forget to subscribe. Your subscribing to the show lets the powers that be know that this show is worthwhile and that they should be sharing it with other midlife women who could use this kind of information. And if you'd like, you can share this episode with your family, your friends, and your followers. If you're looking for a group of women who understand what it's like to struggle through hot flashes, self-doubt, hormonal surges, and hard-to-lose belly fat, then join the Courageous Women's Network. This is our free Facebook group, and in this group you will receive love, support, and a little kick in the pants when you need it. Plus, you'll get outstanding training from me that will help you cut out the guesswork and reach your wellness goals. There's a link in the show notes. Just click the link and request to join. I will talk to you guys soon. And remember this, you are stronger than you give yourself credit and more blessed than you know. See you later.